Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally back. For those of you who missed the pre-show, my name is SiNO. I'll be doing everything behind the desk here today. Should be a great old time. Bank being our first map, and it's going to be the first of two where we have another matchup later tonight in a different league, so it should be an exciting night for Siege. I know BO1s are a little bit discouraging in terms of not being able to watch so much Siege in one day, but hey, we get to work with what we have. I mean, it's just a glorified BO3, but you know, we get to finally get the nice experiments of seeing two teams that know what they're doing go up against each other, and I'm kind of excited to see what they can put on the board. For those of you who don't know who I am, I just like to yap about the game, man. And this is my channel, so if you guys do like the content that you see, make sure to drop a follow. But focusing more on the teams at hand, we have Castaway CC versus Wild Boys Election. I mean, I know both of these teams are always hungry to be better, to be faster, to be somewhere closer to the top of the global standings of this leaderboard so they can find success on their future journey throughout those playoffs that are slowly but surely approaching. And I'm assuming it runs the same in most console leagues because of the August beginning playing lines. You have 8 play-ins, and it begins in June. So with common denominator, you look at 2 months, and there you go. You're at the beginning of August. So these guys have a lot to prove. And taking a look at their head-to-head stats, I mean, you have Castaway CC at number 7 throughout the entire global standings as of now, and Wild Boys Election sit at 9. So it's only a 2-round difference. I mean, their stats are getting closer and closer to the likeness of each other. They have the same rounds won, which is rare to see, in their differential is only 3 apart. Both of these teams have the 50 range round to win percentage, so you know they're here to play, they're here to compete, and they know what they want to get done in the earlier stages of the round. So keep an eye out for both of these teams, because the quality only gets better from here with them and how they like to play things. Now, this first round is usually the most important, and with the return of the 20-second meta, we can really see the reliance on operators like Goyo and Tachanka mixed up with the Smoke and the Warden nowadays, just because of the amount of time that these defenders can now waste. And they can pool on different operators like the new addition and buff of Wamai into the competitive scene, being one of the most picked newer defenders off of a recent buff. So, it's exciting to see. But right now, Wamai and Jaeger go absent for this playout. CC decide to rid of the Hatch Denial and the Mira. But in turn, they'll lose their Monty and their Snake, making global intel an easy entry a little bit harder. They'll have different shields, and that's not really what they need for this type of play. We've seen them execute it pinpoint multiple times back to back. They go into server, they use the clusters to rid of any piece of utility that lurks inside, and from there they pool onto the site and play off that post plant. By getting rid of wall first, you've now rid of so much utility. All 3 canisters go down without having to be denied. And now a minute burned off, and their next objective is getting rid of Raki. Now the Vigil sits upstairs in an office, and yes, he's drawing in the time, but the second he crosses, it's going to be an issue of pooling attackers as the first piece of damage is dealt. Yuri losing his battle. You can no longer zap those C4s out the sky with the EMPs, but Tachanka's there to get the instant refrag. Squared now being the next point of contact. It could be the difference maker if he can stay up past a minute, making it easier to rely on the Vulcans that sit in the site. But as all the hatches begin to be opened up, 90 seconds remain, and Wild Boys Election find themselves a man down, and it's not looking too great. I assume they know he's up at top square, but they can't do anything about it. He'll just walk down blue as if nothing ever happened, evening out the scoreline and getting rid of those cluster charges. Maintains that site integrity and leaves these 3 CC players to try to get the job done. Now Square trying to deny, and in turn shoots himself in the foot by ridding of all of that utility top blue that would have given away the location of any attacker trying to walk down. Leaving just below a minute for these attackers to make a play. Somebody needs to backstab. Somebody needs to get aggressive, and it looks like Trip will be that one player. Wants to set the fire to make sure no one sits close, but might be more viable to use a smoke in this situation. No entry in from Garage, and Comb giving out the live pings that there's a player ready to watch the drop. Another time continues to run down, and it's perfect utility use by Election as they're mitigating the circumstances after losing that smoke, and they're doing so perfectly. Now Tripway ensures he can land without getting shot down on landing. One player drops an elevator. Tachanka just sprays and lets that LMG rip. uses all 80 bullets and gets 2 kills out of it, leaving 15 seconds left on the board. Tachanka, you have an impossible task at hand. You clear the rooms one by one, but everybody is trying to get upstairs to waste your time, and you're not even going to be able to get rid of the person on site. Donut goes big for 3. Wild Boys election started off with a bang. One of those impressive rounds to rid of all of the utility that comforts the attackers. Losing those cluster charges so early on is just so important to make sure you have a very good threshold on this site. Despite losing wall so early, they managed to overcome the situation, and they'll be able to grab up that first round quite easily. They'll head on over upstairs to try to ensure that they'll get the job done. I'm excited to see how they'll be able to do so, especially with the amount of pressure that they've begun to apply onto the opposing team. They've done a good job at this so far. All they have to do is continue to apply this pressure and see how that'll play out. All quiet on the western front. We know CC's. I would say CC's upper takes are a lot weaker than their basement takes, but I mean, when you have players firing on all cylinders, these guys are unstoppable. I mean, Trip has been close to 20. You'll have players like Tachanka and Comb, when they activate, they can lurk and find kills just like this. I mean, he's in the middle of the site, 40 seconds in, has killed 2 players and taken control of the majority of the site here, and is continuing to just rip into these players. Now Buck adding insult to injury by just firing through the floor, but it almost backfired. Living to tell the tale. C4, Velcro rips, trying to kind of disencourage anybody from pushing in through Spiral to get more kills, but Vrake barely clinging on to life, and these defenders are forced out to continue to play aggressive to try to reestablish the real estate that they've lost in a flash. But the time continues to run down against them. Now Vizsla in the middle of the site knows exactly where one defender is, could isolate, wins the gunfight. Now making it easier to plant in the corner. Tachanka now walking forward to rid of any player who plays in janitors, but catches Vrake off guard. What happened to you, Election? You were playing so well on that beginning round, but that momentum is lost very fast as now Wall started in stock and will remain the same, as there's no easy way to get out of this area without dying. He'll take care of Vizsla on his double, but still has a tall order in front of him as he has 2 players doubling him up. Looking to get rid of the player on the front desk, but shooting someone's foot compared to their head are 2 very different instances. And the Ash prevails. A beautiful lurk to get up banana stairs and force this mistake. CC strike back with a round of their own. In Election are forced to retry the same site or go downstairs as they'll try the first floor hold. The votes were very, very lopsided for this game, and you saw how they were playing very aggressive, but still, no matter what happens, you'll continue to apply pressure, and we find ourselves at tie game. all quiet on the western front while both teams try to approach their separate ideas of how to really attack and defend this map. I mean, it's been good quality as of now, but now they need to be able to continue to put their best foot forward and being able to establish real parts of real estate to get this job done. Still kind of quiet, and I'm excited to see how they'll be able to establish certain areas of pressure without losing the integrity of the site, as we saw in the previous round. When we see more players lurk in, we see less control of the site, and that in turn kind of contributes to them losing a good majority of health in the players that try to push in. As Ash looks to be the first breacher squared. Goes closer and closer, but doesn't know the impending danger that sits on the other side of his armor panel. One side, though, is open, so he could decide to get aggressive and try to take care of one of these players earlier on, but still no bueno. 40 seconds burned off the clock, and it's still quiet as these players continue to go to the drawing board and think about what is the better idea. They'll see squared, rotate, so they'll assume it'll be clear. Take care of tellers and archives, which it is as of now. Nobody seems to be in a area that could be of massive hurt to CC. This clash with the shield could be a problem, but with the usage of, I would say, a frag or a stun, you could kind of push her off. Now, the damage you see Donut taking is from that Jago payload. Decided to eat it so he can no longer be called for the remainder of the round, which is a huge asset to have on the clash. That earlier in the round means there's no additional damage taken off. Now Vrake goes down first to trip as the player who always looks to find a 20 bomb, my fellow Canadian, will continue to rip things up. Now still establishing different lines of pressure. Will give his teammate a free kill, and Comb takes care of all while Desi goes down, leaving squared on Marble. No longer. Donut, can the shield save you? What is that electricity going to do against 4 hungry attackers? The answer is nothing. They swarm you like flies. They'll get a down for your troubles, but it still counts the flawless. CC take the next, and they're starting to pool that pressure onto Election. Hopefully, they can continue to apply it and force these mistakes, but apparently not, as this game decides to crash, and we'll get these players situated before we bring this game back. Apologies for that. I mean, technical difficulties. We use a PC, it crashes. We use a console, it crashes. We use 2 PCs, it crashes. I mean, just fuck. Just lovely. Lovely. Forget about it, as the Italians like to say, with the worst possible accent I could try. Now, for those of you who missed the pre-show, these teams are only 2 places apart in the global standings for their respective region. Now, within their separate, let's say, group stages, it does kind of matter what it looks like. But to be honest, I mean, your main idea for this league should be to just qualify from 1st to 12th to qualify for the playoffs. If you can get top 4, all the better, as you can qualify with a bye, meaning you play 1 less match and gives you more time to do your prep work on these teams. If CC win this game in regulation and the 2 teams in front of them, which is 5.2 and Wild Boys, take a tumble, whether going into OT or going into a regulation win or loss. My apologies. They could try to find top 4 if they continue to fire on all cylinders, but as of now, this is their last chance to be on the top of their game. Let's see how this will play out. This is the last week before playoffs, so all the points accumulated and all of those wins and the rounds all count right now and here. You guys need to be able to continue to establish pressure at each and every stage of this game. Now time continues to tick down against Castaway CC as they've had trouble being able to clear this site previously due to that refrag that Squared was able to find that rid of their fuse and eventually put a pin in their plans, forcing a player to hot drop the hatch in a 1v4 situation with absolutely no utility or intel covering. Now 90 seconds remain and those Toxic Babes will become active as Wall will be the only player that sits in server and may have been misdroned. Squared beelines it and in a rush to die, but they still don't know he's in this corner. A massive blunder as Vizsla can do nothing to help his deceased teammate. Now the kit goes loose in the middle of server, leaving just a little over a minute on the clock, and Wall, even if he falls here, put in the pain to make sure he's done his job. Now forced to reset his phone. He's temporarily discouraged from moving, but gets hit by the flames from the flame bolt, and Trip will prevail from that gunfight without taking a single hit of damage. Now forced to pivot into a optimal position to get the job done here. Now the clusters are sent through. They'll be in a little bit of a pinch, Vizsla, to continue to burn this utility down, knowing how much time these players have wasted out. If there's even one cluster that's gone unpopped, you will get burned out. But luckily for you, there are no Toxic Babes. You just have to worry about the Shmikas. Now Desi will get rid of Tripway, losing all of the flame bolts that he would have, and there's a flank. The question is anyone here to receive that pressure? It will be Freeway, but Comb goes down in the meantime, leaving 15 seconds for a heroic play from these two players to get the job done. You'll get rid of absolutely nothing. The track stingers mean nothing to the integrity of the flank, as these defenders don't care if they lose their win cons. They'll just swing and win their ones regardless. 2-all as Election tie things up and have the opportunity to take the lead since the first round after this. Both teams showing up to play after knowing what's at stake. Imperative that they don't share the points. Otherwise, we may see some form of sharing of said points, and that would be a very big issue. See how that'll play out. They'll head back upstairs, and hopefully we'll be prepared for the spiral alert after the absolute carnage that was ensued by Tachanka. He's having an amazing game, just completely ripping it up. Was the one to just walk into site with no questions asked and found a quad kill. We're going to continue that streak of terror. Hopefully we'll be able to find. Things continue to just kind of slow down while both teams look for a different approach on how to get the job done here. Important that we see at least one singular frag that goes in the favor of CC before the pressure starts to get a little too great. Let's see how those will continue to play out. Looks like Vizsla will be the first person that'll touch into the building as drawing board is approached to continue to force these mistakes. As of now, that provides pressure, but there you go. Vizsla will just be able to smoke out the Feetals to easily find control into the building. Now needs to be able to get out of dodge, maybe a misclick to get out of that building, force to stay in, but still has that head glitch to get rid of any players who are unexpecting of this weird angle. But Wall reestablishes the pressure, and to add insult to injury, there will be a death in open area. The man advantage now given to Election, and all they have to do is hang on to it, but it doesn't matter as Freeway strikes, gets rid of Donut, leaving 75 seconds to get the job done here. Tied out, losing your verticality player could be a little bit of an issue, but you guys have the pivotal spots. All you have to do is just be wary of the Wamai, and if you have just a little bit of intel, it won't even be a problem for the remainder of the round. Now Wall gets shredded and goes down to the angle. On stock, cannot crawl back into Janitor, or will be finished off by the Toxic Babe. The worst of both worlds, but Tachanka finishes him off. Now Desi, 1 HP and 1 player sits in Janitor, barely clinging on to life, but Squared will prevail. A well-needed kill to tie things right back up. Now 40 seconds left on the clock. This bandit being so low could be a problem as Vizsla hits the head regardless of health. He would have been dead, but Squared continues to put in the pain. Time continues to run down. Will decide to hop into sight, but being isolated by Squared means you need to win this gunfight. Unexpected will eat the full flash. Now Freeway has the advantage, but Comb's the one to prevail, leaving Freeway to plant and Vreki to isolate. A pseudo 1v1 while that case decides to go down. And the red time means this attacker needs to stay alive to be able to isolate. Vreki unaware that the player just tucked into the rotate. An easy kill. A CC grab up another round for themselves. This team continues to go back and forth. Now CC continues to apply pressure, and they know what's at stake with their placings. Common for all esports and regular sports. The lower your place on the table, the worse your spot in the playoff seeding. So every round is so important to continue to push yourself further and further. And they're doing a great job at doing that exactly. Now, for those of you wondering, we do have a doubleheader tonight. We'll have Wild Boys Election versus CC, which is what you're looking at right now, and then we will have a second game, Lavish v Dynasty, in another league, pending the outcome of this game. Nice little doubleheader action to continue to have a good old time tonight. Trip has already found access into the building, and there's always that one player that can find so much real estate in such a short amount of time, and it always pays off. And not happy about falling to this player, gets his direct karma and empties a magazine into Vreki's fallen body. Not a problem for Trip. Do you know who he is? Now looking to double down and find another kill. Calls off the death mark, so has more time to be able to recuperate and find a different spot to position himself, whether it's an open area or tellers, to try to catch a player off guard. Now a minute burned off the clock in Vizsla with the same exact thing. It's the trademark that we like to compliment CC for. They take their sweet time to establish pivotal areas of the map to continue to apply pressure where it's needed. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, and that is their motto. They continue to brag out. The players who are on the entry roles continue to find joy, and the hard breachers and the utility wasters continue to do their job as well. Now Freeway continues to sit on the barricade, thankfully, with proper Wi-Fi, not lagging out, but in a blink of an eye, a sea of blue floods the kill chat. Now Donut finally gets one in response, but sacrifices all of the real estate in sight as well. Now Tachanka finishes him off, and it's complete mayhem for a round in a map that started so well for Election. They've sure lost a couple of rounds that are very, very convincing, as now Castaway CC take a 2-round lead, and and Election need to find their response on the attacking side, not what you want to hear. A convincing half from both teams, but CC to just grab that edge. The same exact bans, but just flipped for either side, as we'll head down to the basement to see how CC decide to hold this. They're always so convincing with the way they play and the type of pressure they apply. For Election, this should be damage control at its pinpoint. Otherwise, they will find disaster throughout each and every round that they continue to try to battle this against. Going down 2 rounds on Bank as you switch onto the attacking side is not refreshing. And considering we are abiding by the rules of console competitive, there is no 2-minute break at the split. So these players cannot get their heads on straight and don't have time to consult their coaches. See how it'll play out. For those of you who are just joining us right now, we have a doubleheader up here tonight. 2 different leagues on console. We are currently in week 7 of the SSL, meaning this is probably the most important week, especially for a team that's mid-table, to get the job done. For those of you who missed the stats comparison, these 2 teams are going back to back to back. One sitting at 7th, the other at 9th. 1 win in regulation could mean the decision of trying to make a higher area of the global standings within your league to give yourself better seeding. If you can even inch into the top 4, which I think is only realistic for CC if both the teams above them lose their games, can place you into the top 4, which establishes a round bye, meaning 1 last match in the playoffs. Hello? Tachanka sleeping at the wheel. Not hungry for it at all, as the Solus falls really early on, and that is a very, very expensive pick to lose really early on. Hopefully, you have something to mitigate the circumstances. We know how aggressive this team usually is. What is wall breaching? They reinforce. They site trick? Do they know where site is? They do, but they're full clearing out, and now having to deal with the Blackbeard's an issue. Now knowing there's somebody on Batman Repel and the other person in glass windows forced to fall off and managing to maintain their life. They've got 4v5 situation where there's a lot left to do, and CC have done a good job at running down the clock, but losing this pick so early on could hurt them in the long run. But having a Vigil that can deliver pain this easily continues to establish certain amounts of pressure that they won't be able to afford later on in the game. Now, there's a pick that you desperately needed to give yourself better success. As they continue to clean house, could look for a flawless round here, as the entire site is now just being picked apart 1 by 1. You needed that frag, Vizsla, but no joy. Now 1 player has already dropped elevated to try to isolate, eating a logic bomb as well, and getting flanked in from garage. Absolutely no joy for CC. They'll get flawless. Completely cleaned up at the seams. The site integrity crumbled within 90 seconds, and Wild Boys Election saw that and nailed the execute perfectly, giving themselves only 1 more round to tie things up. As CC need to do damage control to maintain their lead, otherwise we're tied up. This game starts to heat up, as now these teams continue to fight each other for that position. Now they continue to force these mistakes out of each other, and sometimes endurance has a large role. So if we go to OT, we might have to see something on the board. For these teams, each and every round is more important than the previous. Now CC wastes no time in trying to approach a different site, as they'll just go on to the uppermost floor and try their efforts there. Tajanka with a very interesting placement of the disc that would have destroyed the castle regardless of where it was placed, but under the direction of Trip the Goat, the Canadian Goat. I love mentioning that. We'll replace it. Site integrity is there. Now they just have to maintain it, because we've seen multiple issues and their ideas of how to maintain certain areas of the map. Hopefully they'll be able to continue with that, otherwise we will not find joy with how this plays out. Now Trip losing a good amount of HP off of a pre-fire on the global window, so still an issue right now that you'll have to deal with, considering you're just going to have to be on eggshells for the remainder of the round so you don't fall early, compared to that last round where one body dictated the pacing and momentum for one team for the entirety of the round. Hopefully that trend isn't upheld. Now Donut opens it and gets rid of the same player. Pretty sure in the same location as well. It's a blunder. Now a kill is desperately needed to reestablish certain forms of pressure. Now the disc catches the first Sophia explosive. With her recent buff, she now has 3, so there's 2 more to utilize. Now continuing to switch back and forth between the concussions and the explosives to continue to apply pressure into the depths of sight. No joy as of now, but you've ripped a good amount of health off of the castle and you've taken care of a player who has a regenerative ability. So all things considered, you've done your job and you've established E2 control. Now you just need to be able to hit that final nail on the head to be able to continue to apply this pressure. Now Trip needs to reset this phone, otherwise you will fall throughout the fire. That's exactly what'll happen. Don't think he gauged the amount of pressure that was applied, and in the meantime, Vizsla will fall as well. The issues continue to pool on for this team. Election are looking like a reformed self of their past plays now that they are on the attack. Hello, Glaz. That's an easy kill for you. Take it and enjoy it. Flash, no connection, but it doesn't matter. Frankie doesn't need it. Colm isolates and finds joy. All tied up now. 4 all. A CC have now been able to try to respond for their actions on their defensive campaign, but have found no joy. Started off at a 4-2, but still no bueno. We'll head down to the basement where we'll try to reattempt. Hopefully they just bunker down and call it a day, as whatever they've been trying has not been working right now. They keep trying aggression. That's not the CC we know. It's not the CC we love on a map like Bank. We know their aggression works on maps like Consulate and separate areas of maps that can warrant some aggression, but on a map like Bank, where you have the 20-second meta at your disposal, it is imperative that you continue to bunker down where you see that your aggression plays aren't working. All quiet on the Western Front, while either side just goes to the drawing board, decides what is more important to establish. I like this prism, but it looks a little redundant because, I mean, by the time a player approaches elevator, you're starting to slow us down. So I'm excited to see how that'll play out in the later stages of a map, but Let's see how that'll help them in the future. Now Trip continuing to be that one player that isn't finding lots of joy on this specific map, but by just being there as a present operator, you apply pressure indirectly, and that phantom pressure forces these attackers to divide their attention and branch it off to force them to make mistakes. But right now, he hasn't been droned out, which means all of the attention is on Tachanka. Could decide to eat it or fall off, and as of now, a well-deserved kill as Vizsla plays off of the attention that is focused on the player who's fallen off E1, and it feeds them as he takes the head off of the Grim, which could be a win con if used correctly. First Toxic Babe used, and the frag unable to find Joy. Hatch not even opened yet. He'll eat the Jago payload, which means you can no longer call the smoke, guys. He has one Toxic Vape to continue to establish pressure. Now Trip losing his life, but there's a minute left, and they've yet to even approach or break apart the site. They have 2 can openers to make the job happen. That means you have to keep one hatch closed regardless of what you do. Yet to clear blue. Might need to sacrifice it there, but that would mean you would not be able to open up the site hatches. Think carefully. Think closely on what the idea here is and what you want to do. Otherwise, you shoot yourself in the foot. It looks like they'll want to get rid of the admin hatch first, leaving half a minute to approach blue with absolutely no areas of establishment. But luckily for them, Freeway has completely peeled off because knowing there's 20 seconds left, these Vulcan canisters will burn until the end of the round. But Desi decides to just beeline it into the site. I am very confused on what he expected to happen. It's all systems go. Everybody drops into the site. Wall finds the first. Now, pushed into a corner to sit on the reinforcement, but these Echo drones continue to help. But Vizsla saves his teammate's life at the dying embers of the round, looking to stick it. You guys didn't pop the only Vulcan that mattered, and now you need to do damage control. They're getting out of dodge, reestablishing that vertical pressure as you see Squared run as fast as humanly possible to get upstairs. Now leaving them in a 1v2 situation. Donut needs to just sit down there and continue to force these mistakes. Now Tachanka, guys, you need to check your corners. The Black Grid continues to just sit in an area that could be an issue, and Donut continues to put in the pain. This could be the biggest blunder we'll see from CC today. Homie will get rid of Squared, but this time is starting to run loose. One of you defuse and one of you hold, but he has a sniper rifle. You need to be able to isolate, and somehow by the skin of their teeth, they'll clutch it out with 1 second left on the clock. CC barely prevail, but at the end of the day, they're the ones that are 1 round closer to the match point. An election, a valiant effort, but you have to hold your heads down in shame as you fail to clear out that utility earlier in the round, and it'll come to bite back. I'm very curious as to hear what those comms were in a round like that. I mean, it mattered that everything was pinpoint and accurate, but it just wasn't seen. I mean, just back and forth, but it was a little too easy for CC to take home. Squared almost had the play if he just held that cross, because not a single player was looking in his general direction, but sometimes the pressure can get to you. And it continues to show us how this can be a bigger issue than expected. Tertiary site is called in for CC here. They'll have almost all of the operators needed for success. They have that Azami. They have the Bandit Clash, and let's see how that'll play out for them. For those of you that are joining in on various platforms, the main broadcast will be hosted on Twitch. It'll be the same gamer tag or username as it is on the platform that you are seeing it on. Twitch offers the full aspect ratio and multiple chatters that have opinions about this. To reiterate what we've been saying, this is the last week for the SSL group stage, meaning these teams need to end this out in regulation to ensure they get maximum points for their playoff placement. Losing could mean elimination if every team below you decides to just have a great old time and rip off points from the players in the top 4 seeds. Now Ace has already began to rip off certain areas of the map as you hear those Selma charges detonate in the background. All things go quiet as these teams continue to try to shred off each and every part of the map. Now, real estate slowly but surely going into the favor of these players on election. So get that vert, but Vizsla continuing to put in the pressure when you least expect him to make an appearance. He'll just start to shave off your health slowly but surely. Now Squid goes down in being the pinpoint entry. It'll be an issue for him to deal with the remainder of the round if you're in the grave. I'm unsure who the IGL here is, but if he is, that means you can rely on the comms throughout the entire round from your IGL, so sometimes that can play out in your favor, but losing a body when one of your teammates is already unhealthy, and down around and the time continues to expire against you, the more I say and, the more I stack up these cons against them, the more pressure that amounts to the later stages of these rounds. Now, 55 seconds remain, and these players continue to go in a little bit of a damage control spree as the Selmas are being shot. Vizsla continues to put in pressure at front office and manages to get out alive. Guys, it's not even a part of the extension. He's just there for fun. He mainly just needs to stay in tellers and apply that pressure, and has been doing so beautifully. Now 35 seconds remain, and CC continues to put in the pressure and the pain to build up negative real estate for election. They've taken all of the verticality, but they've been able to do absolutely nothing like it. With 20 seconds left on the clock, they're forced to make a little bit of a heroic play. That's exactly what will happen. Nobody watching that hatch drop. He'll have one player occupying Kansan. Into the red time you go. It's time to plant, Desi. The question is, who has the C4? The only one is across in on marble, meaning it's a little bit harder to deny the plant, but there's somebody hiding, meaning it's easier to get rid of the crosses. A flurry of blue kills in the chat. Will all confirm kills for CC, leaving Wall in an impossible situation, needing to clutch it, but a triple kill from Comb says no. An easy round as CC take match point, leaving election in damage control mode, unable to find any round wins as of now. Hold on. Guys, I don't remember the last time I have seen attack timeout being called in console. I know I do every platform, but I don't remember the single time I have seen this being called. But hey, to impress is to continue to innovate. I mean, wow. I am very, very impressed that we're seeing a timeout being called, but I do hope it's being used to be positive, not to play the blame game, because that is actually what kills teams a lot faster than you might expect. Hopefully, constructive criticism has been applied to continue to apply this pressure onto the other team, because they aren't doing a bad job, but Castaway CC is just, oh my god, the way they're countering election is actively adapting. And a team that can actively adapt is how you can tell a team between good and great. We'll head on upstairs for the potential last round of this game. OCC, can you pull it off in the defense? Just one round you need to find joy. For those of you that are disappointed that this game is coming to a close, there is another one following in a different league. Starts at 9 o'clock EST. I was about to say PST, and I was about to realize, hey man, on the East Coast. EST, we have a different game at 9, so it'd be a great old time to have tonight. But to confirm how it looks at this part of the game, imperative that these teams continue to fight back at the top of their game. A minute burned off the clock here, and just still doing the prep work. This could be a little bit of an annoying sight to deal with, especially when time is against you. Time is of the utmost essence. Only having the ace to deal with the elevator walls and a Habana to open up the main walls, I'm gonna assume it's gonna be a little bit chaotic because Habana either makes a crouchable breach, or if she uses all 18 pellets, will be a full walkable breach, but you rarely see that nowadays. I would assume that these pellets may be used to clear out any players sitting in the area space of that hallway. 75 seconds, and they've yet to break through the first layer of defense. And CC playing a very layered type of defense means the second they see the first sign of pressure emerge, they'll peel off and allow it to continue to apply that pressure surely, with that time continuing to run down. Now a minute remains, and this breach could be the difference maker. But Trip opens it up and gets rid of Reiki. And with the time continuing to run down, could be a little bit of an issue now that you've lost the first player that has the hard breaches and the player that you would use to find control into the building. Now Damos completely forgetting that there's a rotate behind him, and his entire backside is displayed to the player in the same room as him. Now, half a minute remains, and CC look like they're ready to close this one out. Tripway on a triple. The Canadian himself looking to break double digits, but Donut giving his team that lifeline. Desi losing a good amount of HP on those windows. Needs to be careful when he's peeking, but I mean, you have to hurry up. You only have 10 seconds to get the job done, but hold on. Donut putting in the pressure and stock, but has absolutely no options presented to him as the Obese Tachanka gets rid of Desi, leaving one player in stock. I mean, it's a valiant effort by Donut, but now in regulation, CC take it home. And a valiant